Patrick Cook here. Welcome to session number 5 of our Mastering Mandelbulb 3D Formulas. Now, in the previous session, I had talked about the iteration count. That is the number of times that a formula will be repeated by the Mandelbulb core software. All right. And I think I pretty much had established that the iteration count in this area, all right, pertains to the actual individual formulas in each of the slots. Now, the other concept to wrap your head around is the number of iterations of the whole set. All right. Now, a set is the formulas that have an assignment. I should say the formula slots that have an assignment. For instance, here, Formula 1 is assigned integer power formula. Formula slot number 2 is assigned amazing surf. Formula slot number 3 is assigned cosine power 2. I can put anything I want in there. It doesn't matter what the formula is. What matters is that I now have a formula set or sequence of 3 formula slots, okay? Formula 1, 2, and 3, because formulas 1, 2, and 3 have a formula assigned to them. In this particular scenario, formula number 4 slot would not be part of the set or the sequence because it doesn't have a formula assigned to it, okay? All right, so that's a formula set or sequence. Now that's key, because what's going to happen is when you hit calculate 3D, we'll get to all of that. We'll get to all of that. When you hit calculate, what's going to happen is that the Mandelbulb 3D core application is going to execute Formula 1, then Formula 2, then Formula 3. In other words, it's going to cycle through all of the assigned formula slots. It's going to cycle through the formula set or the sequence. All right. All right. Now, with that concept, maybe sort of kind of understood, down below here, these min and max iterations actually refer to the number of times that the whole set will be iterated or repeated. All right. Let's get the whiteboard up here. Let's see if we can kind of show this. All right, I'll fire up the whiteboard. Here we go. Let me get my stylus going here. All right. Now, let's say that I got Formula 1 assigned. All right, that's got an assignment. I got Formula 2, that has an assignment, and I got Formula 3, that has an assignment. All right, and you can see up at the formulas windows here. All right, now that is considered a sequence or a set. Okay. Now the iteration count that we had talked about as it pertains to the individual formulas would be the number of times that formula will repeat. Let's say I had an iteration count of 3, all right, that formula will repeat, 3 times. It'll be iterated 3 times. If I had Formula 2, let's just say I had, 4, 5. Let's say I had an iteration count of 5. The Formula 2 is going to be iterated 5 times, and 1, 2, 3, 4, let's just say 4, okay? All right, so what's going to happen is that the Mandelbulb 3D software will do this. It will iterate Formula 1 3 times, then it will go and iterate Formula 2, in this case, 5 times, and then it will go iterate Formula 3 4 times, and then it will repeat, get that right, it repeats all over again. Okay? All right. Now, that was the iteration count that was below. Let me show you this here. I just talked about the iteration count that was right here below the formulas, but within the formulas panel. All right, that's what I talked about just now. Now let's talk about what's below here, the min and the max iterations of the set. All right, so let's get back to our whiteboard. All right, now, all right, how about we do something clever here? And let's change, let's see, let's change the pen color. All right, so did I change it? Yeah, okay. So the min and the max iterations is going to specify how many times the set, this is our set, how many times the set will be iterated. So if I have a minimum of 1 and I have a maximum of 60, what that's going to say is that this set will be iterated up to 60 times. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? Now keep in mind that a set, it's going to do Formula 1 first, Formula 2 second, Formula 3, and then repeat. Formula 1, 2, 3, repeat. Formula 1, 2, 3, repeat. So what we have here is we have iterations within iterations. Let's get a different pen up here. So I have iterations of the formulas. And I also have iterations of the set. All right. Okay. So let's get on back to our interface. Turn that whiteboard off. Okay. So I have, let's see, Formula 1. I've got iteration of 5. Formula 1's going to run 5 times, up to 5 times. Formula 2 up to 8 times. Formula 3, 16 times. Then that whole process starts all over again, and it goes all the way back to the first formula, Formula 1, and does it again and again and again. Now, what this down here is telling us, or what we're telling the application is, look, run the whole formula sequence or set at least 1 time, but not more than 60 times. All right? Or I could say, look, run it at least 1 time, but you know what? Don't run it any more than 10 times. I get to decide that. The default is 60. All right? I could say, look, run it no less than 5 times, but no more than 23 times. I'm just making up numbers. Okay? All right? So let's leave it at that for this session. And in a quick review, the value in this iteration count is the number of times up to a formula will be repeated. The values down here are the minimum times that the whole formula sequence will be run, or the maximum that it will be run. In the next session, I want to talk about our bailout, because that is a condition that, if and when met, stops the iterations. All right, pretty cool. All right, this is This is really powerful stuff. And what I have found working with the Mandelbulb 3D application for, I don't know, I picked up on it in 2017. Yeah. And I started making stuff with it, and man, it was just like really foreign to me at the time. Now, I've got a lot of background in software development. I'm a Microsoft.NET developer, have been for, well, since 2003. And so I have a pretty good handle on what's going on with this stuff. And I'm also a photographer that I go way, way, way back. And I dove into digital photography in 2001. That was like really, really, that was like pioneering back then. And even a simplest, I don't know, 5 megapixel digital camera was like, wow, this is like space age stuff. But anyway, so I have a lot of background in software and photography, film, digital, and I have a pretty good appreciation for what goes on behind the scenes, and you can actually get a hold of the Mandelbulb core software. And download it, and you can open it up, and you can start looking at the files. You don't even have to download it. You can look at it up on GitHub, and you can kind of really delve into kind of see what's going on behind the scenes, and you can kind of get an appreciation for what's going on with this Mandelbulb software. So many of these concepts are pretty straightforward. Once you kind of understand what they are, and you see them in action, and you get experience with these formulas, and you see how things work, and you start tweaking and making adjustments, and you see how that affects the the display on the screen. You begin to kind of appreciate the power that you have in terms of creativity. So understanding these concepts is actually pretty straightforward and pretty important, actually, for creative purposes. Okay. All right. So enough blabbing for this session. Look, I'll see you in the next session. And I want to talk about our bailout in the next session. I'll see you there.